And welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, October the 12th, and time once again for the mailbag. I hope you guys have had a good week, a good weekend. Mine's been pretty decent. I hope you're all registered to vote. Early voting has begun in some states. It's yet to begin in some others. Ours starts this week in Texas, so hope you all participate. What else? Not really a whole heck of a lot in the way of announcements. So, yeah, I have... I'd say an average week, a handful of books on this device, e-arcs as it were, and a pretty decent stack of physicals, maybe about 4 titles or so. All of them look to be from Macmillan. So, yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? Gonna go ahead and start with the Egalleys this time. And starting out with one from Harper Voyager, this one is very exciting. It is Escaping Exodus Symbiosis by Nicky Drayden. This is, of course, the sequel to Escaping Exodus, which came out not too long ago. And this one will be out February the 23rd of 2021. And, well, what can I say about this one that's not... Well, this doesn't seem like it's too spoilery. It says, the remnants of humanity cling to existence inside giant spacefaring creatures known as the Zenzi. Exploited for generations, these majestic animals nearly went extinct. But under the command of its newly minted ruler, Doka Kali, life has flourished. The Senate allowed Doka to lead their people, believing he'd fail spectacularly, a disaster that would cement the legitimacy of their long-standing matriarchy. He knows a single misstep means disaster when a cataclysmic event on another Zenzi world forces Doka and his people to accept thousands of refugees. A culture clash erupts, revealing secrets from the past that could endanger their future. And of course, he has fallen for the one woman he is forbidden to love, his wife, Seski. All right, and so, yeah, this is a fairly unique and exciting space opera adventure, and it continues in February from Nicky Drayden, Escaping Exodus Symbiosis. All right. Now, this next one comes in from Tor. And this is interesting. It's the latest one to be in their Tor Essentials line of reprints. And this is a book called The Necessary Beggar by a writer named Susan Palwick. And I've read this book. I actually read it and reviewed it when it first came out back 15 years ago. It's a 2005 release. And they're bringing it back next week on the 20th of October. And I'll be honest, I reviewed it at the time. And I remember thinking I'll read the synopsis first, and then I'll tell you what my original review said. It says, Lemabantunk, the glorious city, is a place of peace and plenty, bejeweled streets and glittering waterfalls. It is also a place of severe justice. Doroti, a young merchant, has been accused of the brutal murder of a highborn woman. Now, in keeping with his world's customs, his entire family must share in his punishment. Exile to the unknown world that lies beyond a mysterious gate. Passing through the gate and grieving for the life they left behind, Doroti and his family find themselves in a harsh and hostile land, America just a few years hence. Unable to explain their origin, they're rapidly remanded to a desert internment camp, along with thousands of other refugees. There they struggle to make sense of this ill-fated new world and its strange gods. They will eventually make their way out of the camp, and each of them will adapt or fail to adapt to their new lives according to their natures, and learn or fail to learn what actually happened back in Lemabantunk. Okay, so it's a science fiction allegory about the immigrant experience. And if anything, if you listen to that synopsis, it sounds probably like the story would be more relevant now than it was when it came out, right? Now, in my original review, I went back to my old website and read it, and I seem to feel as if, this was a book that was very much written from the heart, but I thought that the story just, piled it on really thick, emotional button mashing. That was a phrase I repeatedly used, to the point of melodrama. And, just too mawkish, right? But I don't know. I mean, I'm interested perhaps in giving this a reread to see if my opinion changes, to see if maybe I was unfair at the time. But in any event, Tor's bringing it back on October the 20th, The Necessary Beggar by Susan Palwick. All right, this next one, interestingly enough, we have a new Dune novel. Weren't expecting that, were you? Oh, we probably were, in fact. This is The Duke of Caladan, new Dune novel, yet another prequel to a prequel or something, right? By, of course, Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, Brian Herbert being Frank Herbert's son, and so on. This comes out tomorrow, on the 13th. Uh, okay. Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson have written now, I think, twice, if not three times as many Dune novels as Frank Herbert ever wrote originally. There have been prequel series, sequel series, and so on and so forth. I have them all, but confession, I've only actually read one. And that one was one I didn't actually dislike, to be honest with you. It was Paul of Dune. It came between Dune and Dune Messiah, kind of slotted in there. I thought it answered some questions, filled in some gaps in the narrative pretty well. There's one scene in it that was like ridiculously silly as shit, but for the most part, I didn't think it was bad. But the funny thing is, Dune fans, like really hardcore fans of the series and of the universe, are brutal to these books. You know, the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, they are just, I mean, just flame these books over and over again. You will hear so much contempt to the point where it's actually kind of funny. But yeah, I haven't read. I'll probably pick up some of them and try to give them a read, you know, fill in some of those gaps. But for now, we have a new one, and this looks like the start of a whole new thing, so maybe I can just jump right into this one. Because, I mean, I'm curious, in any event. Probably would have been more a case of striking while the iron is hot if the movie hadn't been delayed, like, nearly a whole other year. But, oh well, what can you do? But it says this is about Leto Atreides, Duke of Caladan and father of the Muad'Dib. While all know of his fall and the rise of his son, little is known about the quiet ruler of Caladan and his partner Jessica, or how a duke of an inconsequential planet earned an emperor's favor, the ire of House Harkonnen, and set himself on a collision course with his own death. This is the story. Through patience and loyalty, Leto serves the Golden Lion throne. Where others scheme, the Duke of Caladan acts. But Leto's powerful enemies are starting to feel that he is rising beyond his station, and House Atreides rises too high. With unseen enemies circling, Leto must decide if the twin burdens of duty and honor are worth the price of his life, family, and love. You know, eventually, we're going to get to the point probably where these two authors are telling us the story of when Duke Leto was, 11 and went to summer camp, right? They're just going to fill in every possible gap in the narrative they can. But for now, we have this, The Duke of Caladan, out tomorrow from Tor. Wow, okay. I spent way too long talking about that one, I think. This next one, it's the last of the E-Arcs. This will be one coming out next March from the fine crew at Tachyon Publications. Hello, Jim. This is a collection called Robot Artists and Black Swans, and it is by Bruce Sterling, an Austin author, very well known. Old Cyberpunk, has written a whole lot about computer hackers and that entire culture and what have you. This is interesting. The godfather of cyberpunk has emerged in this new collection of Italian-themed fantasy and science fiction stories. Bruce Sterling introduces us to his alter ego, Bruno Argento, the preeminent writer of fantascienza. As always, Sterling is a speculative innovator, skillfully combining technology with art, mythology, and history. In the esoteric city, a Tyrannese businessman's act of necromancy is catching up with him. The Black Swan, a rogue hacker, programs his way into alternate versions of Italy. A Parthenopian assassin awaits his destiny while he nestles in the arms of a two-headed noblewoman. Infuriating artists and scientists alike, the wandering robot wheelchair confounds all with his uncategorizable creations. Bruno Argento is the acknowledged master of Italian science fiction, yet that same popular fantascienza author also exists in America. English-speaking readers are familiar with Bruno Argento as Bruce Sterling, and Italians are acquainted with Bruce Sterling as Bruno Argento. In Robot Artists and Black Swans, we have their visionary short stories, including fiction never before published in English. Okay, so I think, giving himself Argento as an Italian pseudonym is just a bit on the nose. But I'm kind of interested in reading these. I haven't seen Bruce in years. He used to be a regular fixture at Armadillicon, and maybe he'll turn up again. But in any event, yes, March 2021 for Robot Artists and Black Swans. Okay, now it is time for the physicals, and I'm going to open the first of these packages from the Macmillan Company. And we're starting out with a book called The Insomniacs. The author is Merritt Weisenberg. This is in from Flatiron Books. And judging by the look of it and the price tag, this looks to be kind of a YA sort of weird horror thriller kind of a thing. I'll just kind of give you the rundown here. It says Ingrid can't sleep. She can't remember either. A competitive diver, 17-year-old Ingrid, is haunted by what she saw at the pool at a routine meet before falling off the high dive and waking up concussed. The only thing she remembers about the moment before her dive is locking eyes with Van, her neighbor, former best friend, and forever crush, kissing his girlfriend on the sidelines. But that can't be all. Then one sleepless night, she sees Van out her window, looking right back at her. They begin not sleeping together by night, still ignoring each other at school by day. Ingrid tells herself this is just temporary, but soon she and Van are up every night, piecing her memory back together. As Van works through his own reasons for not being able to sleep, they're both pulled into a mystery that threatens to turn their quiet neighborhood into a darker place than they realized. Ooh, okay. See, now that sounds kind of interesting. A little spooky sounding story for the holiday season. But The Insomniacs by Merritt Weisenberg. And I think it's out. It's either out now, or if not out now, it will be out maybe within the next week or so. And next we have a book from the Tor Teen imprint. And this one looks to be another spooky tale. This is Eventide. The author is Sarah Goodman. Pretty design on this cover. But yeah, this is about between sunset and night comes Eventide. Seems a bit like almost like a gothic horror, a bit for young adult readers. It goes like this: Wheeler, Arkansas, in 1907. When their father descends into madness after the death of their mother, Verity Pruitt and her little sister Lila find themselves on an orphan train to rural Arkansas. In Wheeler, 11-year-old Lila is quickly adopted, but 17-year-old Verity is not. Desperate to stay close to her sister, Verity indentures herself as a farmhand, but even charming farm boy Abel Aitchley can't completely distract her from the sense that something is not quite right in this little town. Strange local superstitions abound, especially about the eerie old well at the center of the forest. The woods play tricks, unleashing heavy fog and bone-chilling cold, and sometimes visions of things that aren't there. But for Verity, perhaps most unsettling of all is the revelation that her own parents have a scandalous history in this very town. And as she tries to unearth the past, sinister secrets come with it, secrets that some will go to violent lengths to protect. Eventide is a haunting tale of long-buried secrets, small-town scandal, and single-minded vengeance by talented debut novelist Sarah Goodman. Okay, and this one is out now, definitely out now, from Tor Teen, Eventide. And next we have the finished copy in hardcover of V.E. Schwab's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. And this actually did come in last week, so it's not this coming week, so this was released into stores this past week. And of course, it's a huge new novel by an author who is now one of Tor's biggest authors, so yes, of course, I guess I will try to work it into the review queue as soon as possible, because I'm curious. But just to give you all a quick rundown, I've already had this on the mailbag as an e-arc, but now that we have the physical, I'll just reread. It says, "Never pray to the gods that answer after dark." France 1714. In a moment of desperation, a young woman named Adeline meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake. As she realizes the limitations of her Faustian bargain, being able to live forever without being able to be remembered by anyone she sees, Addie chooses to flee her small village as everything she once held dear is torn away. But there are still dreams to be had, and a life to live, and she is determined to find excitement and satisfaction in the wide, beckoning world, even if she will be doomed to be alone forever. Or not quite alone, as every year, on her birthday, the alluring Luke comes to visit, checking to see if she is ready to give up her soul. Their darkly thrilling game stretches throughout the ages, seeing Addie witness history and fight to regain herself as she crosses oceans and tries on various lives. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name, and suddenly, everything changes again. Okay, so they're comparing it to The Time Traveler's Wife and Life After Life and books like that. Anyway, but The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, it is actually a really interesting concept. And last but not least, we have the finished copy in trade paperback of In the Black by Patrick S. Tomlinson. This, again, I've already had it on the show as an e-arc, but it will be out, let's see, on, well, tomorrow. Okay, it's a tomorrow release. And it says Patrick Tomlinson's In the Black takes place in a demilitarized zone on the border of human space. When long-range spy satellites are mysteriously going quiet, Captain Susan Kamala and her crew are dispatched to figure out what's going on and solve the problem. That problem, however, is a mysterious bleeding-edge alien ship. Now the captain and her crew must figure out how to navigate a complicated game of diplomacy to keep a long-standing Cold War between species from turning hot. Okay, so it seems like it's probably kind of a Scalzi-esque military SF epic. In the Black will be out tomorrow from Tor Books in trade paperback. And there you have it. That's all I have for the mailbag this week. A modest little mailbag. I like those sometimes. Anyway, you know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please sub. If you have not done so, that's how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army get little perks like getting to see some of my videos early access. I want to thank all of those lovely people for their additional support. It's a big help. I use the Patreon money to pay Matt Olson, my wonderful thumbnail artist, for all of the incredible thumbnails he does for me that make my channel look, I think, pretty unique among booktube channels. I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of booktube, and until I see all of you again, stay safe and healthy. Remember to vote, and happy reading.